Hi guys, David Ornstein here. The following clip is a section taken from my podcast, the Ornstein Chapman Podcast. You can listen to the rest of the weekly show for free wherever you get your podcasts, and of course ad-free when you subscribe to The Athletic. I hope you enjoy it.
Let's start with Chelsea then. After on Friday, David Ornstein and Liam Twomey break the news that the Blues are on the verge of signing Ben Chilwell in a deal that will be worth around £50 million. Liam joins us now with the latest. It feels, Liam, as though this deal has been in the works for quite some time. I think The Athletic first reported on it back in December. Chelsea have probably been linked with him even before that, but it looks like Lampard's finally going to get his man.
Yeah, finally. As you mentioned, it's been a long process, and I think my colleague Simon Johnson deserves an awful lot of credit because he was ahead of the curve on this one, reporting it for The Athletic back in December that Lampard had identified Chilwell as his number one choice at left back, and that position has never really wavered. Lampard made his mind up fairly early that he needed an upgrade at left back. He wasn't fully convinced by Marcos Alonso or Emerson, and I think they knew that they couldn't get Chilwell in January, even after they had the transfer ban reduced, with Leicester flying as high as they were in the Premier League. But it was always one that they were confident that they could revisit this summer and really make a serious approach. And I think Leicester's failure to qualify for the Champions League, coupled with Chelsea making it, and the broader financial fallout of the pandemic, has all shifted the financial equation in Chelsea's favour. And the eventual price that we're talking about, which is, as we understand it, no more than £50 million, in the region of sort of 45 to 50, is a lot less than what Leicester were originally asking for. They were asking for Harry Maguire type money, around 80 million. And so I think in that context,
have they managed that then? Because Leicester are, known to drive a hard bargain. Although when it comes to Manchester United, everybody seems able to drive a hard bargain with Manchester United. But they seem to be able to drive a hard bargain. He's an English left back, so that kind of puts up his premium as well. So have they managed to get him for what a lot of people would think is reasonable money?
Yeah, I think it's a case of the circumstances shifting against Leicester, really, and in favour of Chelsea. Leicester need to raise a little bit of money from sales this summer, and if it's not Chilwell, it would have had to have been someone else. So I think they've made the judgment that Chilwell wanted to leave anyway. He wanted to join Chelsea. That's been clear for some time now, and they probably feel that they can replace him maybe slightly more cheaply, or maybe even internally. We've seen James Justin play at left back quite a bit for them, and I just think Chelsea refused to go away, and they made their interest very, very clear. I think Leicester's main hope was that Manchester City might come in and rival Chelsea for Chilwell and create some sort of bidding war. But as soon as that didn't materialise, I think Chelsea felt very confident that not only that they could get Chilwell, but they could get Chilwell at a price that was acceptable to them, because they were under no circumstances would Chelsea have paid for Chilwell what Manchester United ended up paying for Harry Maguire, especially with all the other business that Chelsea are trying to do in this transfer window.
Lampard's feeling, just to sort of round up the left-back area before we move on to their other business in this window, Lampard's feeling was always that neither Emerson or Alonso were a left-back. I mean, there could be a left wing-back, but they weren't left-backs.
Yeah, I think the feeling he arrived at, and I think the impression that a lot of Chelsea fans have got over the course of their careers at Stamford Bridge is that both Emerson and Alonso are better going forward than they are defensively. They can't really defend their positions as fullbacks. They probably need the extra security of that additional centre-back behind them, particularly Alonso, who doesn't quite have the speed, but does happen to be a uniquely gifted attacking player. So I think what Lampard sees in Chilwell is the ability to be a bit more of a complete option there. He can defend his own position, but he also has the energy to get up and down, supply good crosses, contribute to the attack in combination with midfielders. So I think Lampard sees Chilwell as someone who ticks all the boxes, and at the age that he is, only 23, he can be a long-term solution to what has been a problem position for Chelsea.
So they spend 45 to 50 million on him, and there's still more money to spend, is there?
Well, it certainly seems so. I mean, they haven't even completed what will be their biggest deal of this transfer window, which is Kai Havertz.
That isn't affected then by 50 million on Chilwell. Kai Havertz is still a doable deal. Yes. Chelsea are committed to completing both deals, in addition to the money that they've already committed on Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner. And Roman Abramovich is being aggressive. I think Chelsea have been given a little bit of leeway by UEFA's temporary relaxation of FFP this summer to give clubs a bit of breathing room. It was always going to favour the kind of clubs that had billionaire benefactors or oil states behind them, funding them. And Chelsea have seen a unique opportunity here to strengthen their squad, maybe jump up, 2 or 3 levels in terms of squad strengthening rather than incremental improvements that you generally make in a transfer window. That doesn't detract from the fact that they also will need to sell players, because aside from this squad now looking very big, the wage bill is very big. And so I think the next stage of this, once Chilwell comes in, once a deal for Havertz is properly concluded, I think you will see Marina Granovskaya being very proactive in trying to move some of the players that aren't in Lampard's plans. But presumably, they won't be in a great position to haggle over those players, will they? I mean, in some ways, they might have to just accept whatever's offered for a few of them, to, as you say, to get them off the books. Yeah, I wrote a piece about this about a week ago, actually, with Dom Fifield. We're talking about the challenges of this market, and we were talking to a few agents who deal with Premier League players, who were saying that it's a really, really difficult environment to get any sort of value for players that you don't want. The biggest one really for Chelsea at the moment is someone like Danny Drinkwater, who's on a 6-figure weekly wage and has had a year that has further depressed his value. Getting anything for him from any sort of Premier League club would be maybe Marina Granovskaya's greatest achievement at this point. It's a very difficult job. I mean, we've seen with Timu Bakayoko that there's lots of talk of him going back to Milan on loan with an option to buy, and that's something we might see more broadly with some of the players that are on the fringes of Lampard's squad. I think Chelsea might decide to park some of these discussions for a year, or maybe insert obligations to buy or options to buy in some of these deals. But I think the wage bill is the biggest thing to address, so you might need to see Chelsea compromising over sale price, which is not something Marina Granovskaya is used to doing. Okay, so you've got the big money signings coming in. You've got a wage bill that just won't be sustainable, and they'll need to move players on. So where does that leave the rumours and the supposed advanced talks that Chelsea are having with Thiago Silva? Yes, I think this is a classic case of Chelsea being slightly opportunistic and pragmatic in the transfer market, because Thiago Silva does not fit the same profile of a Kai Havertz or a Timo Werner, a long-term club target that they've scouted for a long time. He is a veteran free agent who, at best, you would say is a very short-term fix for one of the biggest problems in this squad, which is the dearth of quality at centre-back and the dearth of leadership, I would say, in that position as well. I think that's what they see in Thiago Silva. It looks increasingly like that deal will get done. One of the things we don't quite know yet is just how long the contract will be. I can't imagine Chelsea giving him more than 2 years. I'm sure they'd love to give him 1. He thinks he can play for about 3 or 4 more years at the top level, and we'll see. I mean, he's just played in the Champions League final and didn't get exposed too much by the best attack in Europe, but it is unprecedented for a player to come in at his age. He'll be 36 in September, to the Premier League, which is maybe the fastest, most intense major league in Europe, and be an impact player for a top club. It is unprecedented. So it will be fascinating to see how it pans out, but it's easy to see from a personality standpoint and experience standpoint what Frank Lampard sees in him. And there will be some as well saying, even if it's for a year, that then gives Chelsea another 12 months to work on trying to get Declan Rice away from West Ham. Yeah, I think that's still the long-term plan. Lampard really likes Declan Rice, not just in terms of his skill set, but also his personality. He is
that kind of leader. He has a real presence on the pitch despite his youth. But the transfer just doesn't look feasible this summer, with West Ham demanding 70, 80 million for him. And it's understandable, he probably is worth that much to West Ham. But with the amount of money that Chelsea are already committing on other transfers, they're spending a lot, but there are still limits. And I think Rice at that sort of price probably makes more sense to wait another year, see how things develop, and then revisit it next summer, perhaps when he's got 1 year less on his contract, perhaps when he feels a great sense of urgency to try and move on to bigger things.
Good to talk to you, Liam. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And don't forget, you can keep your eyes on the Athletics transfer tracker for the latest on all of those deals.